Today we'll talk about the box office again. There wasn't really anything here, but they are main that why any box office rebound for In the Heights is unlikely. So they're all angry the fact that this movie is flopping, and they actually said that this movie's box office, it was not really impacted by HBO Max. Streaming is not the reason why this movie flopped. And I already went over this and why this movie failed and why people are sick of wokeness in movies, but The Greatest Showman wasn't woke. That's the difference. Okay? In the Heights was understandable. It was a symbol of creativity and our opportunities. And of course, it was woke. It was woke, so of course they were saying how great it was. They were saying how great it was for representation. They were saying how great it was for, wokeness and stuff. But reality film under 11.5 million opening weekend came under expectations. Even if they have been exaggerated by films for the hype, which again, Twitter does not watch movies. I don't know why they can't realize this. Okay? But nobody is watching this movie. There's also all the other controversy of this movie here as well. So, and why it's unlikely is because, again, most of the movies that have better legs, either it's because it's a very, very, very slow box office year or box office month, which is usually in August, or it's during a holiday release. Christmas weekend release. Then we have Peter Rabbit, of course, here. So Peter Rabbit is the latest animated sequel to struggle at the box office. No surprising here that this movie isn't doing too well. And also, I think people are going to be saving the money for the Boss Baby 2, which probably also down as this movie. But this movie already will make back its money since it has a very tiny budget, $45 million. The movie has made $71 million, and it will likely pass the $90 million needed to be a success. Now, and then we have another one, Variety. This movie is actually Hitman's Bodyguard is actually projected to gross $15 million. I put my range from $5 million to $15 million, but seems that it's projected to gross $15 million, which means it is projected to be number one in the box office. Because it's a few exclusively theatrical movies, it'll be another interesting test case to see how the movie business recovers. It is the sequel to The Hitman's Bodyguard, which costs about $50 million. This one costs $50 million, while the first one cost $69 million. The poor received by, of course, the establishment debuted to $21 million in the U.S. ticket sales, a modest sale for pre-pandemic times. And its theatrical time of $136 million worldwide, basically, and $76 million domestically. So, of whole titles, Peter Rabbit 2, which grossed $10 million. With a positive over itself, it will probably make around 50% of its original weekend. So, Peter Rabbit 2, I think, will probably outgross In the Heights worldwide and domestically. I think that's going to be a pretty easy one because Peter Rabbit is going for the animated audience. Correct? With a positive over the mouth, I believe it will go 50%. Which put both movies each slightly above $5 million for each weekend. Peter Rabbit will probably make back its money next weekend with China sales now coming around. The movie's now coming out in China, so that means China's going to save the movie from being a flop. I think Peter Rabbit 2 will eventually reach $150 million worldwide. I think that will probably be the end game for that movie. And yeah, it's another, sequel that nobody wanted, and no one's watching it. So Hitman's Bodyguard is going to gross $15 million, which again is typical for a sequel. Family films have been a staple of recovery of fears as parents and their kids go enjoy the home bargain instead of going to the movies as well. So In the Heights, it will affect where if the marketplaces decide the film's hybrid release strategy. So yeah, In the Heights is not doing well anywhere, okay? And they're saying it's not HBO Max's fault, so they can't really just go around and say, oh, streaming's the future anymore. They can't go around and say streaming's the future anymore because HBO is flopped regardless. And yet, here is the movie. And despite the bad reviews by the critics, I think, I thought the critics would affect the movie, giving it a 29% for ridiculous reasons as well. The critics are completely ridiculous. They are completely ridiculous. The critics are completely ridiculous, giving the movie bad reviews just because it's a sequel. But then to go around the plot and give, Disney movies 10s out of 10s was absolutely ridiculous because, Disney obviously paid them to give those movies good scores. And this is just another example of, a movie that's gonna probably might even overperform. But it's still projected to gross 15 million. I don't think it's gonna gross for 20 million. It's the first comedy to be released on the big screen since the onset. The genre has successfully fallen out of favor of moviegoers as the superhero adventures and suspenseful villains rise in popularity. And yeah, and again, the movie will really have no real competition. And I wonder if Peter Rabbit will outsell In the Heights. We can go on the box office mojo because they actually have the sales, weekly sales for Peter Rabbit. Not weekly sales, daily sales for Peter Rabbit. And for Tuesday, the movie made $1.2 million on Tuesday. That is pretty, actually has outsold Cruella. Which again, it was already outselling Cruella, but this movie still made $1.2 million. Okay, but yeah, considering the Hitman's Bodyguard will be releasing with no competition, I think 15 million is actually pretty likely. And yeah, here are the dailies. Here, Wire is completely bombing now because new movies are actually coming out in theaters. Peter Rabbit is we're gonna see Peter Rabbit 2 versus the Angry Birds movie 2, which is the best comparison for this movie, basically. Because both movies are very, very, very similar. A sequel to a very successful movie, and then the second movie completely underperforms all expectations. And Peter Rabbit's doing far worse than the Angry Birds movie 2. So you look at the sales here, Peter Rabbit is doing far worse than the Angry Birds movie 2. But again, the Angry Birds movie 2 had a head start on the box office. So if we exclude the head start sales, the movies are performing very, very similarly because of the head start at the box office, basically. And yeah, I think Peter Rabbit will probably end up around 30 million domestically, which is it's not too great, but I don't think they're gonna make a third Peter. I think they're gonna probably still make a third Peter Rabbit movie, and who knows how that will do. But yep. The most anticipated movie for next weekend is Hitman's Wife Bodyguard and Ruka. So because Ruka is not releasing in theaters, that means Hitman's Wife Bodyguard basically has a monopoly over the movie theaters. So that's basically about the Hitman's Wife Bodyguard. So they are actually predicting 15 million. So that means that I'm not wrong for predicting 15 million. Like I originally predicted 15 to 20 million. So that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.